In recent weeks, a growing wave of buyer's remorse has swept through the base of former President Donald Trump, revealing significant shifts in sentiment among those who supported him in the past. As fresh polling data has emerged, it paints a stark picture of dissatisfaction and regret. A large portion of Trump voters, it turns out, are not only questioning their decision to back him, but they're also distancing themselves from the very policies that defined his presidency. This moment of reflection underscores a deeper, more complicated reality. While many Americans may still have voted for Trump, a majority of them now seem to want nothing to do with his aggressive political agenda. As the latest round of polling, including the network exit poll and the VoteCast survey, suggests, even Trump's core supporters are rethinking the very foundation of their votes. A significant portion of voters, including those who cast ballots for Trump, feel that his policies, from tariffs to abortion restrictions, have gone too far, and they now prefer a very different direction for the country. This shifting sentiment reflects a growing disconnect between the candidate and his voters, who, over time, have begun to see the contradictions between Trump's promises and their own values. In this video, we'll delve into the latest polling data and examine the reasons behind this deep-seated buyer's remorse. We'll explore how voters who once rallied behind Trump are now expressing their discontent with his policies and leadership. From public opinion on tariffs and taxes to healthcare, vaccines, and abortion rights, this analysis will reveal a stark shift in how Trump voters view the legacy of his administration and what they truly want for the future of America. The surge of buyer's remorse. 70% of voters believe the country is heading in the wrong direction. The polling data paints a troubling picture for Trump and his supporters. According to the network exit poll, an overwhelming 70% of voters now believe that the country is heading in the wrong direction. This sentiment spans across a broad spectrum of the electorate, including those who previously supported Trump. Among this group, an even more striking statistic stands out. A full two-thirds of voters who now express dissatisfaction with the country's trajectory had voted for Trump in the past. This means that a significant portion of his base, once optimistic about his leadership, is now grappling with the consequences of their vote. Trump versus Biden. A deteriorating record. When asked to assess the performance of Vice President Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, the results were not kind to the former president. In a comparison of how voters perceive their leadership, 40% of those surveyed indicated that Harris had delivered negative results during her time in office, but an even larger 45% said that Trump's presidency had delivered negative outcomes for the country. This signals a profound shift in public opinion since the Trump administration ended. The sense of disillusionment among Trump's former supporters seems to be deeply tied to the policies he championed and the manner in which he governed. This dissatisfaction, however, isn't just a result of his leadership style or public persona. It's rooted in tangible issues, policies, and decisions that have had real-world consequences. Whether it was his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, his economic policies, or his approach to immigration, the polling data suggests that many voters are now grappling with the fallout from these decisions. A stark rejection of Trump's policies. Tariffs and taxes. A growing discontent. One area where Trump's support is beginning to erode is on the issue of tariffs. In the VoteCast survey, voters were asked whether they favored increasing taxes on goods imported to the United States. The responses were almost evenly split, 49% in favor and 50% against. However, when the word tariffs was substituted for taxes, the numbers shifted slightly in Trump's favor. Still, when asked about substantial tariffs, the balance tipped against the former president. The public is becoming more aware of the costs that tariffs bring to the American consumer. Over time, the reality of higher prices and trade tensions seems to be catching up with Trump's economic promises. Voters are now recognizing that the costs of his protectionist policies may outweigh the benefits, especially when it comes to their wallets. Abortion rights, a major point of contention. Another key issue that has led to buyer's remorse among Trump's voters is his stance on abortion. Despite Trump's promises to appoint conservative judges and restrict abortion rights, a significant majority of voters, over 60%, now believe that abortion should be legal in most or all cases. This shift in sentiment reveals a stark contrast to the conservative platform Trump espoused during his presidency. As many Trump voters realize the potential consequences of a future where abortion rights are restricted, there is growing concern about the role of the federal government in personal health care decisions. Trump's stance on abortion has alienated a portion of his base, particularly those who never envisioned such far-reaching restrictions being imposed on women's rights. Healthcare, a rejection of Trump's healthcare agenda. Perhaps one of the most significant policy areas where Trump's voters have expressed regret is healthcare. In the VoteCast survey, over 50% of voters said that the government needs to be more involved in ensuring Americans have healthcare coverage. This stands in stark contrast to Trump's repeated attempts to dismantle Obamacare during his presidency. His promise to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act never materialized in a meaningful way, leaving millions without a clear alternative. Now, with growing public concern over healthcare access, many voters who initially supported Trump's approach to reducing government intervention in healthcare are reconsidering their stance. They are increasingly in favor of a more robust role for the government in ensuring that all Americans have access to quality healthcare. Vaccines and public health, a divisive legacy. Another controversial area for Trump's supporters is his administration's handling of public health, particularly in relation to vaccines. The VoteCast survey revealed that only 22% of voters wanted the government to be less involved in ensuring that children are vaccinated for childhood diseases. On the other hand, 50% favored greater government involvement, with another 26% supporting the current level of intervention. The legacy of Trump's vaccine skepticism, combined with his refusal to implement a national strategy to combat COVID-19, has created a deep divide among voters. Many now view his rhetoric and policies as detrimental to public health, and they are calling for more decisive action to protect citizens from future pandemics. Fears of authoritarianism, the growing concern. As Trump has made headlines for his increasingly authoritarian rhetoric, many voters are expressing alarm. According to the VoteCast survey, 45% of voters are concerned that a second Trump presidency could bring the country closer to authoritarianism. An additional 10% were at least somewhat concerned about this possibility, making it clear that there is growing unease about Trump's potential return to power. This fear of authoritarianism is particularly troubling for those who once supported his America First agenda but never envisioned the full extent of his ambitions. While many of his voters may have initially been drawn to his populist message, the growing concern about his willingness to disregard democratic norms and consolidate power has shaken their confidence. The latest polling data clearly reveals a trend that many political observers have been predicting for some time. Trump voters are experiencing deep buyer's remorse. Whether it's his policies on healthcare, tariffs, abortion, or vaccines, many of those who supported him in the past are now distancing themselves from his agenda. The polls show that, despite their previous backing of Trump, these voters no longer want the radical changes he promised during his presidency. At the heart of this growing disillusionment is a fundamental realization. Voters can no longer separate Trump's policies from his leadership. They now recognize that supporting him comes with the implementation of policies they fundamentally disagree with. The irony, however, is that many of these voters failed to fully understand the consequences of their vote until it was too late. This shift in public opinion is not just a reflection of Trump's presidency, but of the broader political landscape in America. As the nation grapples with the ramifications of past decisions, it is clear that voters are searching for a new direction, one that does not rely on the divisive, authoritarian rhetoric that Trump championed. Whether this will lead to a major political realignment or simply a brief moment of reflection remains to be seen, but for now, Trump's voters appear to be in full retreat. As we move forward, it will be interesting to see how this shift impacts the future of American politics. Will the Republican Party continue to rally behind Trump, Or will it be forced to confront the reality that his policies are no longer as popular as they once seemed? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The era of uncritical Trump support appears to be coming to an end. Thanks for reading. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights into the shifting political landscape, and follow me across all social media platforms for the latest updates. The next few years will be critical in shaping the future of American democracy, and we'll be here to cover every twist and turn along the way.